In the waning months of the Second World War, precisely in early 1945, the European theatre witnessed a pivotal shift in armoured warfare as the United States Army introduced the M26 Pershing heavy tank, a machine that was poised to challenge the long-established dominance of the German Tiger tanks entrenched in formidable defensive lines across Germany. This period was marked by the relentless advance of Allied forces, yet the German armour defences, spearheaded by the feared Tiger I and its successor Tiger II variants, continued to pose a significant obstacle due to their superior armour and firepower. The conception of the M26 Pershing thus emerged not merely as a response to these threats, but as an embodiment of American armoured innovation, designed to restore balance on the battlefield by addressing the tactical and technical shortcomings of prior U.S. tank models such as the M for Sherman, which had struggled against the heavy German tanks. Developed under the auspices of the Ordnance Department, the M26 Pershing represented a considerable leap forward in American tank engineering, combining enhanced armour protection, increased mobility, and, most notably, a powerful 90mm main gun that was specifically engineered to penetrate the thick frontal armour of the Tiger tanks. This weapon system marked a significant improvement over the 75mm and 76mm guns mounted on earlier American medium tanks, allowing the Pershing to engage German heavy tanks from beyond their effective return fire ranges, a capability that would prove decisive in subsequent engagements. The tank's armour, with frontal hull thickness reaching up to 102mm and turret armour surpassing 114mm, provided a level of protection hitherto unseen in American armoured vehicles, enabling crews to absorb hits that would incapacitate lesser tanks and maintain their offensive momentum under heavy enemy fire. The M26's powertrain, featuring a Ford GAF V8 engine delivering approximately 500 horsepower, endowed it with sufficient mobility to maneuver effectively across the varied terrain of the European battleground, a critical factor in maintaining tactical flexibility and exploiting breakthroughs. The tank's suspension system, a torsion bar design, further enhanced cross-country performance and crew comfort, which translated into improved combat endurance and firing accuracy under dynamic conditions. These technical specifications combined to form a balanced platform, eschewing the extremes of heavy tank weight and sluggishness for a vehicle capable of rapid redeployment and sustained frontline engagement. Initial combat deployments of the M26 Pershing were conducted with cautious optimism, as American armoured commanders sought to integrate this new asset into existing formations without disrupting established tactics. The first recorded encounters between Pershings and Tiger tanks occurred during localized engagements in the Rhineland and the Ardennes sectors, where German forces had concentrated their armoured reserves. In these confrontations, the Pershings demonstrated their capability to engage and destroy Tiger tanks at combat ranges that previously favoured the German crews, leveraging the 90mm gun's superior penetration and the tank's improved sighting and fire control systems to achieve effective first-shot kills. The Pershing's gunner optics, incorporating advanced telescopic sights with increased magnification and ballistic calculators, allowed American crews to identify targets at extended distances and adjust fire rapidly, a marked tactical advantage over earlier Sherman variants that often had to close to perilous proximity before effectively engaging heavy tanks. Moreover, the Pershing's turret design permitted a full 360-degree traverse at speeds that outpaced German tanks, enabling American crews to adjust firing angles swiftly in response to rapidly changing battlefield conditions. This feature, combined with improved gun stabilization mechanisms, reduced the time required to reacquire and engage targets after movement, further enhancing the Pershing's lethality in armored duels. The tank's radio communication systems, upgraded to facilitate coordinated maneuvers and real-time intelligence sharing within armored units, contributed to a more cohesive and responsive combat force, allowing American commanders to exploit weaknesses in German formations and execute combined arms operations with increased precision. These tactical innovations culminated in the Pershing's ability to challenge the German Tiger tanks on more equitable terms, disrupting the previously unassailable reputation of the Tigers and signaling a turning point in the armored warfare dynamic on the Western Front. It was no longer a foregone conclusion that German heavy tanks would dominate the battlefield. the introduction of the M26 Pershing introduced a credible countermeasure that could engage the enemy from beyond effective return fire distances, effectively nullifying the German advantage in firepower and armor. This shift was underscored by reports from American tank crews who, for the first time, felt confident in their ability to not only survive encounters with Tigers but to decisively defeat them. The design origins of the Pershing trace back to the early years of the war when U.S. armor doctrine emphasized speed and maneuverability over heavy armor and firepower, reflecting a strategic philosophy that prioritized rapid exploitation of breakthroughs rather than head-to-head tank engagements. However, the emergence of the Tiger tanks, with their thick armor and powerful 88mm guns capable of destroying Shermans at extreme ranges, forced a re-evaluation of this approach. The Pershing's development was accelerated as a direct consequence of these battlefield realities, embodying a hybrid philosophy that sought to balance protection, firepower, and mobility, qualities essential for confronting the German heavy tank threat. In its initial combat employment, the Pershing was often deployed in small numbers within armored task forces, supplementing medium tank units and infantry support vehicles. This cautious integration reflected both the limited production numbers available at the time and the need to train crews on the new platform's capabilities and maintenance demands. Nevertheless, even in these limited engagements, the Pershing's impact was palpable. German tank commanders, accustomed to the relative ease of dispatching Shermans, found themselves confronted by an adversary capable of withstanding their fire and returning lethal blows with devastating efficiency. The psychological effect of this new threat contributed to a gradual erosion of German armored confidence, as Tiger crews faced the unsettling prospect that their once dominant vehicles could be neutralized by American tanks engaging from beyond their previously uncontested ranges. The Pershing's introduction also highlighted the evolving nature of American industrial capacity and quality control during this phase of the war. Unlike earlier heavy tank projects, which suffered from production delays and mechanical unreliability, the Pershing was produced with a focus on standardization and battlefield durability, incorporating lessons learned from years of armored combat. This approach ensured that the tank not only possessed formidable technical specifications but also maintained operational readiness in the harsh conditions of frontline warfare, a factor that contributed significantly to its battlefield effectiveness. As the M26 Pershings began to penetrate the German Tiger defensive lines, their presence heralded a new era of American armored superiority, one characterized by the capacity to engage from beyond the effective firing range of the enemy and to sustain offensive operations with a resilience previously unattainable. The Pershing breakthrough did not merely represent a technological advancement but a strategic recalibration, wherein U.S. armored forces could now assert dominance in direct tank engagements, undermining the German doctrine that had relied heavily on the invincibility of their heavy tanks. This development set the stage for subsequent operations that would exploit the Pershing's capabilities, accelerating the collapse of German armored resistance and contributing materially to the eventual Allied victory in Europe. The breakthrough achieved by the M26 Pershing against the entrenched German Tiger tank defenses was not merely a matter of battlefield attrition, but a profound tactical and psychological upheaval that reverberated through the command structures and morale of the Wehrmacht's armored forces. The Pershing's combination of superior firepower, enhanced armor protection, and improved mobility enabled American tank crews to confront German heavy tanks on more equal footing, a paradigm shift that nullified the advantages long held by the Tiger line. The 90mm gun of the Pershing, with its high-velocity ammunition capable of penetrating the formidable frontal armor of both the Tiger I and Tiger II at combat-effective ranges, marked a critical evolution in tank armament that allowed U.S. forces to engage these previously dominant adversaries from beyond the distances at which German tank crews could reliably respond. This tactical superiority was not accidental, but the result of meticulous design choices focused on addressing known German tank strengths and weaknesses. American engineers incorporated improved ammunition types, including armor-piercing capped ballistic cap, APCBC, rounds, which optimized penetration against sloped and thick armor, enabling the Pershing to deliver kills from distances that diminished the effective response window of Tiger gunners. Furthermore, The tank's improved gun stabilization systems permitted accurate firing on the move or immediately after halting, a capability that significantly increased the Pershing's lethality in dynamic battlefield scenarios. This contrasted starkly with the Tiger's more cumbersome fire control mechanisms, which required longer aiming times and limited their ability to respond swiftly to rapidly maneuvering targets. Specific engagements during the late winter and spring of 1945 illustrate these tactical advantages with clarity. In several documented battles along the Siegfried Line and during the push into the Ruhr industrial region, Pershing units were able to outmaneuver and outgun Tiger platoons, exploiting superior optics and fire control to achieve first-shot kills that disrupted German defensive formations. American tank commanders reported instances where their crews engaged Tigers from ranges exceeding 1,000 meters, a feat that previously had been unattainable with the Sherman's armament and had forced American crews into perilous close-range duels. The ability to kill from such distances not only preserved American tank strength, but also enabled the creation of tactical opportunities to flank and encircle German units, thereby accelerating the collapse of defensive positions. The enhanced crew visibility afforded by the Pershing's turret design further augmented its combat effectiveness. Unlike the Tiger tank, which suffered from restricted sightlines due to its design priorities emphasizing armor over situational awareness, the Pershing provided commanders and gunners with a broader field of vision, facilitating quicker identification of threats and more effective coordination within combined arms operations. This advantage was compounded by the tank's upgraded radio communication systems, which allowed for real-time sharing of intelligence among armored units and supporting infantry, thereby enhancing the synchronization of attacks and preventing costly friendly fire incidents. The cumulative effect of these technical and tactical improvements was a marked increase in battlefield efficiency and survivability for American armored forces. The psychological impact of the Pershing breakthrough on German forces was profound and multifaceted. German commanders, who had long relied on the formidable reputation of their Tiger tanks to deter and repel Allied armored advances, found themselves shocked and unsettled by the emergence of a tank that could match and overcome their heavy tanks' capabilities. Reports from German armored divisions reveal a growing sense of disbelief and demoralization as the Pershings dismantled the myth of Tiger invincibility. The realization that the technological edge had shifted decisively to the Americans engendered a crisis in German armored doctrine, undermining confidence in both equipment and strategy at a critical juncture in the war. This demoralization was not confined to the upper echelons of command, but permeated the ranks of tank crews and supporting infantry. German soldiers, witnessing the destruction of their once vaunted heavy tanks by relatively new American machines, experienced a decline in morale that contributed to increased rates of retreat, surrender, and even desertion. The psychological warfare wrought by the Pershing's success thus complemented its physical battlefield impact, hastening the erosion of German armored resistance and sapping the will to fight. This phenomenon was particularly evident during the collapse of the Ruhr defenses, where German units faced overwhelming American armored superiority combined with relentless air and artillery bombardment. The tactical advantages of the Pershing extended beyond raw firepower and armor, encompassing superior crew ergonomics and survivability features that increased combat endurance. The tank's internal layout prioritized crew comfort and operational efficiency, reducing fatigue during prolonged engagements and enabling sustained offensive action. This contrasted with the cramped and often mechanically unreliable interiors of German heavy tanks, which suffered from maintenance challenges exacerbated by Allied air superiority and logistical disruptions. The Pershing's relative mechanical reliability and ease of repair in the field ensured higher operational availability, allowing American armored units to maintain pressure on German defenses without significant pauses for maintenance or recovery. Moreover, the Pershing's success catalyzed shifts in American armored tactics, encouraging more aggressive use of combined arms operations that integrated infantry, artillery, and air support with tank assaults. The newfound confidence in the Pershing's ability to contend with German heavy tanks emboldened commanders to plan and execute operations that sought decisive breakthroughs rather than mere attrition, thereby accelerating the tempo of Allied advances. This doctrinal evolution was reflected in the increasing coordination observed during the final offensives into the heart of Germany, where Pershing-equipped armored divisions demonstrated superior tactical flexibility and resilience against counterattacks. The strategic implications of the Pershing breakthrough were equally significant. By neutralizing the Tiger Line's defensive efficacy, American armored forces effectively rendered obsolete one of the Wehrmacht's most potent strategic assets, forcing German commanders to reconsider their defensive deployments and contributing to the fragmentation of their armored reserves. The shift in battlefield dynamics precipitated by the Pershing's deployment undermined German efforts to stabilize the front and mount effective counteroffensives, thereby compounding the cumulative pressures that would culminate in the rapid Allied victory in Europe. The weapon makes obsolete the previously dominant German heavy tank doctrine, showcasing how technological innovation combined with tactical adaptation can decisively alter the balance of power in mechanized warfare. In summation, the M26 Pershing's tactical breakthrough against the German Tiger tank defenses was characterized by a confluence of technical superiority, enhanced crew capabilities, and strategic exploitation of these advantages in combat. This combination not only facilitated successful tank engagements at previously unattainable ranges, but also inflicted a psychological shock that degraded German armored morale and cohesion. The resultant diminution of German armored resistance and the acceleration of Allied advances underscored the Pershing's pivotal role in the final phases of the European conflict, cementing its place as a symbol of American armored superiority and battlefield innovation. The legacy of the M26 Pershing, forged in the crucible of late World War II armored engagements, extended far beyond its immediate battlefield successes, profoundly influencing the trajectory of post-war armored vehicle development and shaping the doctrines that would dominate Cold War tank warfare. The Pershing's design, which bridged the gap between medium and heavy tank classifications, established new standards for balance among firepower, armor, and mobility, principles that would underpin the evolution of the main battle tank concept in the decades that followed. By demonstrating that a tank could effectively combine these attributes without sacrificing operational flexibility, the Pershing dispelled earlier notions that heavy tanks were inherently slow and unwieldy or that medium tanks lacked the punch to contend with heavily armored adversaries. This paradigm shift was informed by the lessons learned during the Pershing's deployment against the German Tiger Line, where theoretical design goals were validated under intense combat conditions. The Pershing proved that a 90mm gun was sufficient to defeat the heaviest German armor at combat ranges, thereby establishing a baseline for the caliber and ballistic performance required of future tank armaments. Additionally, the Pershing's armor protection, which balanced thickness with sloping and structural integrity, influenced subsequent armor schemes that sought to maximize defensive capability without excessive weight penalties. Mobility, facilitated by a reliable powertrain and advanced suspension system, became a non-negotiable attribute for main battle tanks, a direct inheritance from Pershing's operational profile. The influence of the Pershing's design philosophy was evident in the armored forces of the Korean War, where U.S. tank units deployed both Pershings and their immediate successors. While the M26 was eventually superseded by the M46 pattern and later models, the foundational concepts it embodied persisted, guiding upgrades in firepower, armor composition, and mobility that addressed the challenges of diverse combat environments and evolving threats. The Pershing's combat-proven balance allowed American tankers to maintain battlefield effectiveness against North Korean and Chinese armor, demonstrating that the lessons of World War II remained applicable in new theaters and geopolitical contexts. Furthermore, the Pershing's legacy transcended American armor doctrine, inspiring tank development among Allied nations and influencing global armored vehicle design trends. Nations observing the conflict and its outcomes recognized the importance of integrating balanced tank attributes, prompting design philosophies that emphasized versatility and adaptability over specialization. This international diffusion of Pershing-derived principles contributed to the eventual standardization of the main battle tank concept as the centerpiece of mechanized ground forces worldwide during the Cold War era. The breakthrough against the Tiger defensive line symbolized a pivotal moment in armored warfare history, illustrating that technological innovation coupled with tactical adaptation could decisively shift battlefield dynamics and expedite the conclusion of hostilities. The Pershing's success underscored the critical interplay between engineering excellence and battlefield application, demonstrating that the effectiveness of armored vehicles hinged not solely on raw specifications but on the integration of design, crew training, and combined arms tactics. This holistic approach became a cornerstone of post-war armored warfare theory and practice, shaping how armies around the world conceived and employed their armored forces. In reflecting upon the M26 Pershing's historical significance, one must appreciate that its impact was not merely the product of individual heroism or isolated technical breakthroughs, but the culmination of sustained industrial capacity, rigorous engineering, and adaptive military doctrine. The Pershing's deployment validated American armored superiority in a context where the previously dominant German tank doctrine was rendered obsolete, signaling a broader transformation in the art and science of mechanized warfare. Its legacy endures as a testament to the decisive role that armored innovation and industrial prowess play in determining the outcomes of modern conflict, echoing through subsequent generations of armored vehicles and continuing to inform contemporary military thought.